So today, we're plunging into a space that the sources you shared describe as, well, incredibly special. We're talking about bedrooms within single-story homes. Specifically, ones built primarily from concrete, steel, and wood.
Yeah, quite a distinct material palette.
Exactly. And this deep dive is really all about unpacking what makes these specific rooms feel less like just, a place to sleep,
Right.
and more like a genuine sanctuary.
That blend of strength and softness.
Yes, that's it. You've got the structural strength, but somehow also this surprising softness. Modernity meeting a deep connection to nature.
It's a fascinating mix.
So our mission really is to see how these fundamental materials, which can seem quite raw or industrial,
Concrete, steel.
how they come together with really thoughtful design choices to create something, well, truly restorative.
Something special. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, what's fascinating here, I think, is how the actual bones of the house, they don't just provide structure.
They immediately start informing the whole aesthetic, the feeling of these bedrooms. We're talking core materials.
Yeah.
Concrete, steel, wood.
And the sources really hammer home this idea of honesty in the materials. Like, it's not about hiding the structure away.
No, not at all.
It's about letting it be part of the design language itself. You see how a concrete floor, maybe polished, isn't just functional.
It sets a tone, definitely.
Yeah.
And that sets the stage for all the textures you then experience.
Yeah.
So that polished concrete might have a soft, almost reflective quality. It bounces light around in a really particular way.
Okay.
And then you'll have something like textured wood cladding, bringing immediate warmth. A very tactile surface that softens, the potentially harder edge of the concrete or steel.
And the steel isn't just buried in the walls either. It's often exposed, isn't it? Maybe a window frame or a beam.
Exactly. Providing this refined, sometimes industrial, but still very elegant detail.
That was this constant conversation.
A dialogue, yeah,
Okay.
between raw and refined elements. That's creates the balance, I think, the canvas.
Makes sense.
And, it's that deliberate choice of these enduring materials. Concrete, steel, wood. They contribute to a sense of permanence.
So not trendy.
Not trend-driven, no. These spaces aren't meant to feel temporary. They're really designed to age gracefully. The materials themselves develop a patina. They tell a story over time.
Okay, so you have this very grounded foundation of materials, solid, enduring, and then the sources consistently point to the next major player, which is natural light,
Oh, absolutely central.
described almost as having a starring role, making the rooms feel alive, warm.
Light here is definitely an active design element. It's not just, illumination so you can see.
How is it prioritized, then?
Well, often through expansive floor-to-ceiling doors and windows, often framed in wood.
Creating that seamless connection.
Yes, blurring the line between inside and the garden outside.
Yeah.
Almost like the wall isn't there.
But it's not only about those huge openings, is it? The sources mentioned other clever ways light gets in.
Right, like clear-story windows.
Those high-up ones.
Yeah, placed above eye level. They bring in light, connect you to the sky or the trees maybe.
Yeah.
But you still have privacy below.
Smart.
Or skylights. But positioned very deliberately, perhaps to frame a specific view. Clouds moving, tree canopy.
Even the stars at night, some mentioned.
Exactly. And because the light sources are so considered, the light itself actively changes the room's mood during the day.
Right, you get that morning warmth, then maybe a sharper midday light, then the soft evening glow.
The space feels dynamic. It really responds to the sun's journey.
And this intentionality carries through to the artificial lighting, too, for the evenings.
Oh, definitely. It's all about layering. You see sculptural pendants, maybe some recessed cove lighting.
That's the hidden kind that washes the walls.
Yeah, it washes walls or ceilings with a soft glow. And then, of course, bedside lamps or sconces.
And the materials for those fixtures.
Notice those. Stone, brass, clay.
So they tie back in.
They loop right back to that organic palette, reinforcing the connection to nature, the earthiness of the main structure. The lighting isn't just functional, it genuinely sculpts the space.
Highlighting textures, creating atmosphere.
Precisely.
Okay, speaking of that nature connection, the sources make it so clear that the garden isn't just a pretty picture outside.
No, it's much more integrated than that.
It's presented almost as an extension of the bedroom itself. Like nature isn't just out there, it's part of the design in here.
That's a really critical insight from the sources, I think. These aren't just houses with gardens. They are living spaces that actively embrace the landscape.
So the views are curated.
Very much so. Curated garden views become like living artwork. Visible from key spots, the bed, maybe your reading chair.
And it could be anything. Manicured lawns, tropical trees.
Sure, or vertical gardens, even just ceramic pots bursting with greenery in a small courtyard. Whatever it is, nature is brought right up to the edge of the room, sometimes even spilling into it.
You can almost imagine the sensory experience then, not just seeing it.
Right. You might hear the leaves rustling or smell a flowering vine nearby. Feel a gentle breeze wafting through.
And the transitions are designed too.
Choreographed is a good word for it. It's not just a standard door. It might be sliding glass walls that completely disappear. Or stone paths leading seamlessly from the bedroom floor out onto a patio, gravel borders blurring the edge, tiled areas for lounging or meditating right outside.
That invitation to step out.
Exactly. And the connection is so strong that even indoor plants aren't just random decoration.
Right, they mentioned big ones like banana palms or monsteras.
Placed with the same care you'd place a sofa or a piece of art. They cool the visual palette, add that organic life inside, and create this direct visual dialogue.
A conversation between inside and outside color.
Yeah, the interior colors and the greens and browns of the garden, it's constant.
Okay, let's step fully back inside then. How is everything within the room itself handled? The sources kept saying things like, every inch is thoughtfully curated.
No blank, empty corners, no forgotten corners.
It sounds incredibly intentional, like nothing is accidental.
Precisely. And this curation shows up in several key areas. Furniture, for one.
Okay.
It's often designer pieces, yes, but chosen not just for looks. They anchor the layout, serve a clear purpose, but with grace. You see things like low-slung platform beds,
Very grounded.
upholstered frames adding softness, or maybe sleek steel designs echoing the structure.
And the furniture does more than one job sometimes?
Often, yeah. A bed might be a sculptural centerpiece, maybe have built-in nightstands or storage.
Yeah, integrated.
Side tables aren't just plonked down, they complement the main pieces. And seating areas like a lounge chair or a bench, they're positioned specifically to invite you to linger, to read, to just be.
So placement really shapes the flow.
Defines the flow and rhythm of the space, absolutely.
And walls, not just paint, I gather.
Definitely not just paint. Wall treatments are another area where that intention really shines. You find things like lime-washed plaster.
Which gives that texture.
A rich, breathable texture. Subtle variations in color and depth. Or maybe fluted wooden panels, creating this lovely rhythmic surface that catches the light and shadow.
Nice.
And built-in niches. Not just holes in the wall, but deliberate frames for displaying things, ceramics, small sculptures, treasured objects.
And color, is it all neutral?
Mostly natural palettes, but they're not afraid of color. It's just used very strategically. Maybe a bold accent wall or color inside a niche to create contrast.
So it's all about creating this layered sensory experience.
Exactly. That dialogue again, matte versus gloss finishes, rough versus smooth. It keeps your senses engaged.
Then there are the soft furnishings. Crucial for that sanctuary feel, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely central.
Yeah.
Layered linens, often natural, breathable fabrics like cotton or linen itself. Textured throws, handcrafted pillows.
You can almost feel the weave.
You can. And the sources mention curtains billowing in the breeze, often linen, gauze, light cottons. Not heavy or fussy.
Rugs, too, over the concrete.
Rugs are key. They break up those hard surfaces, definitely. They help define different zones within the room. And critically, they soften the acoustics.
Less echo.
Much less echo. Adds warmth and comfort underfoot. It's all layered, deliberately. Luxury, yes, but also acoustic softness.
And storage. Often the ugly necessity.
But not here. It's treated with the same design respect.
Yeah.
Dignified by design, one source called it.
How so?
Well, built-in wardrobes might have beautiful wooden or steel frames, unique handles, maybe interesting textures like cane inlays or slatted wood, even unexpected lacquered finishes.
And open shelving, too.
Included for personalization, yeah, but it still looks curated, not cluttered.
The integration sounds amazing. Storage disappearing into the architecture.
Sometimes, yes. Floating vanities in a bathroom area, concealed drawers built into a bed platform, almost invisible.
Wow.
And even the inside of the storage gets attention, sometimes lined with timber or felt. That little hidden moment of luxury.
Nice touch.
And finally, the decorative elements. They're described as poetic punctuation marks, adding personality but without overwhelming the calm. Things like specific pieces of wall art, maybe abstract, sculptural, even textile art, ceramics, driftwood, stones, woven baskets.
Chosen carefully.
Very carefully. Often handmade or objects with a story. Things that add meaning.
And it all ties together with that color palette.
Yes, that consistent, elegant palette holds it all. Earthy tones, calming neutrals, but then maybe those selective, deliberate bursts of color. Emerald green, rust, ochre, deep blue, often echoing colors found right outside in the garden.
So the visuals are obviously meticulous, carefully planned, but the sources really stress it goes beyond looks. It's about how these rooms feel, a full sensory experience.
That's right, and texture is a huge part of that feeling.
It's everywhere, isn't it? You mentioned the walls, the fabrics.
Underfoot, too, the rug, the cool concrete, even the furniture itself might have tactile qualities. It invites you to touch, invites your eyes to linger on the details.
And that interplay we talked about, raw refined, matte gloss.
That's vital for the tactile richness.
Yep.
Keeps it interesting, dynamic.
What about sound? How does that play into the feeling?
Sound is managed very intentionally. The goal is auditory calm.
How do they achieve that?
Through thoughtful layout, for starters. Buffering potentially noisy areas like bathrooms, maybe with closets or hallways. Staggering entry points so sound doesn't travel directly into the quiet zone.
Makes sense.
Plus, the solid materials themselves, concrete, wood, and all those soft finishes, the rugs, the textiles, they naturally reduce echoes and dampen outside noise.
But crucially, they don't create a bed space, do they? They let some sounds in.
Exactly. They don't shut everything out. They seem to allow, even welcome, specific gentle sounds from the garden.
Like the rustling leaves, birds?
Maybe the trickle of water from a feature. One source nicely put it that the room listens as much as it speaks. It lets the calming sounds of its environment filter in.
That's lovely. And air, climate, is that part of the design thinking too?
Very much so. Airflow and climate are often integrated. Natural ventilation is encouraged through smart placement of windows and doors to allow for cross breezes. Having shaded gardens right outside helps cool the incoming air. Sometimes higher ceilings let hot air rise naturally.
So less reliance on fans or air conditioning, maybe?
Often, yes. It contributes to a more naturally comfortable, temperate feel inside. Less artificial.
So all of these choices, the materials, the light, the nature connection, the curated details, this focus on all the senses, it leads to a deeper psychological impact.
That's what the sources argue, yes. That this level of care in the composition actually calms the nervous system. It can help reduce anxiety. Well, the quiet order of things, the presence of natural materials which we inherently connect with, that balance of light and shade, the distinct lack of clutter, it all helps you feel safe, grounded, anchored.
Like the space supports you.
Exactly. These spaces feel like they're designed to respond to human rhythms, to promote a sense of balance, which is something many people crave in a pretty overwhelming world. They really are retreats.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, sort of pulling it all together, all these specific design choices seem to boil down to a core philosophy behind these spaces. Something like honesty, simplicity, beauty.
And a deep fundamental respect for connecting with the natural world. That's key.
Yeah.
And the ultimate insight, I think, is that these aren't rooms designed just to impress guests or look good in photos.
They're for living in, really living.
They're spaces created for restoration, refuges, sanctuaries designed for the intimate realities of how we actually live, how we unwind, how we rest.
The sense you get is that the real luxury here, it isn't loud or flashy.
No, it's quiet. It's thoughtful, calm, and incredibly personal.
And they aren't about chasing the latest trends.
Not at all. This kind of design seems to honor time. It's intended to evolve, adapt with the person living there, to become a sort of quiet stage for your own story unfolding.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that beauty and utility, they shouldn't be separate.
They should be partners. A room shouldn't just look beautiful. It needs to function effortlessly, respond to your body, nurture your mind.
And this kind of intentional design, it does more than just create a nice room. It creates possibility.
That's a great way to put it. Possibility for stillness, in a really noisy world.
For presence, when we're all so easily distracted.
For finding actual joy in simple things, feeling the sun on your skin through a window, the texture of a beautiful blanket. This approach, it can genuinely change how we inhabit our spaces. It gives us room to breathe.
So, to wrap up this deep dive then, The transformation of these bedrooms into sanctuaries really comes down to a few key things.
That foundation of deeply considered, honest materials.
The incredible power of natural light and that truly integrated connection to nature, not just a framed view.
The intentional curation of every single detail, making sure no corner is overlooked, nothing feels accidental.
And ultimately, that focus on creating a complete sensory and emotional experience, not just a visual one.
The feeling these spaces consistently evoke seems to be groundedness, calm, peacefulness.
Yeah, and profoundly restorative.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about your own spaces?
It absolutely does. You know, these bedrooms remind us that design can go way beyond just looking good. It can actively hold space for our most intimate moments, our stillness, our healing, maybe even our dreams.
So the final thought for you, listening.
Yeah, think about how your own space could do more than just look appealing. How could it truly hold space for you? Uncover those specific design choices, the thinking behind them, that these sources detail what creates that profound calm.
And why it works. That's the key part, isn't it? Beyond just looking nice.
Totally. So as we start, maybe take a second to picture your own bedroom. What elements for you are key to serenity?
Or what's missing, perhaps?
Yeah, what's missing? Let's explore that together through these sources. All right, let's kick off with something really practical. Storage. Often overlooked when we think serene, right?
Definitely. But the sources stress that here, storage enhances the calm. It's not an interruption.
So what does that look like?
Well, it's designed to be seamless, almost architectural. Think floor-to-ceiling wardrobes that feel like part of the wall.
Ah, integrated.
Exactly. And the finishes are usually matte, maybe textured wood, even concrete sometimes. Things that don't create visual noise or shiny distractions.
Okay. And hardware.
Minimal, like recessed screws you barely see, or maybe very slim, blackened metal poles that just blend in.
Got it. And what about inside? Is it just a big empty space?
Oh no, it's very intelligent inside, really thought out. The sources describe things like soft closed drawers.
Ah, so no slamming.
Right, velvet-lined trays for, jewelry or delicate things. Shallow pull-outs so stuff doesn't get lost in the back. Overhead compartments for seasonal items.
Sounds very organized.
It is. The feeling is order and ease. And silence. That phrase, every drawer glides silently, really stood out. It supports your routine without demanding anything.
That silent glide, that lack of visual clutter, really speaks to a kind of respect for your peace, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay, staying with that theme of subtle support, the bedside area, floating nightstands come up in the sources. How do they act as visual anchors?
Well, they're often built right into the wall paneling or maybe the bed frame itself.
Ah, okay.
So they feel grounded, continuous with the structure, not just, a separate piece of furniture plonked down, often made of the same materials as other built-in elements.
And beyond just holding a lamp, what's their function?
Oh, much more. They're hubs for concealed tech. We're talking hidden wireless chargers, maybe controls for the lights built right in.
Seriously?
Yeah, even discrete speakers sometimes for soft music. The sources emphasize the convenience, adjusting the room's mood, dimming lights, closing blinds, maybe playing soundscapes, all without fumbling for remotes or even really seeing the tech.
Wow. High tech you don't see.
Exactly. You just feel its convenience, as they put it.
Okay, technology that serves you quietly. That feels really key to removing friction. Let's shift gears slightly. What about sensory stuff? Scent, sound. How do the sources describe their role?
They're treated as really integral layers, not just an afterthought air freshener.
Right.
For scent, yeah, diffusers are mentioned, but they tend to be ceramic or stone, blending in. But more interestingly, they talk about hidden wall niches.
Niches? For what?
To hold aromatic herbs or dried flowers, maybe incense, so the scent emanates really naturally, and it can change with the seasons like sandalwood when it's damp, maybe lavender or lemongrass in summer.
Wow, that's subtle. Seasonal scents built in.
And it works alongside the sounds they mentioned, focusing on natural sounds filtering in, like the gentle rustle of garden trees. It's about creating this whole multi-sensory retreat.
Connecting you back to nature, even indoors.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess textiles must play a huge part in that sensory experience, too. The sources say they carry the emotional weight of a room. That's a strong statement.
It is, yeah. Textiles are chosen for how they feel, obviously, but also how they interact with light. The examples are quite specific.
Like what?
Heavy linen curtains, say, in natural earthy tones. They hang beautifully, and the light filters through them softly, like soft silk.
Nice.
Or upholstered panels behind the bed, maybe suede, or a textured canvas. That adds acoustic softness as well as tactile warmth.
Ah, good point about acoustics.
And bedding is layered. Light cottons underneath, then maybe heavier throws for texture or warmth, changing with the seasons.
And rugs, especially on hard floors.
Essential on hard floors, like stone or concrete, the sources say. They're chosen for contrast, something plush against the hard surface, often muted colors, but sometimes a pattern can add vibrancy without being distracting.
And placement matters.
Very much. They talk about rugs grounding the furniture, making every step within the room intentional. It adds this layer of comfort, but also awareness.
Making every step intentional. I like that. It's mindful movement. Okay, let's look up. The ceiling. The sources suggest even that contributes to the room's rhythm. How?
Yeah, it's not just ignored. It's part of the spatial choreography. Examples include things like exposed wooden beams against a concrete slab. They create these shifting shadow lines as the light changes during the day.
Oh, interesting.
Or sometimes the ceiling might actually dip slightly lower down over the bed area. The sources describe this as framing it like a cocoon.
Enhancing intimacy.
Exactly. And recessed skylights are mentioned too, not just for light, but for dappled sunlight may filter through trees outside. It brings in this natural play of light that changes with the hours, echoing our circadian rhythms.
So the architecture itself is kind of supporting your natural cycles.
Right, it connects you.
Okay, so the ceiling's active. What about decor items? The sources say they're more than visual fillers, that each has a purpose, a provenance. What kind of things are we talking about?
These aren't just generic knickknacks. They're curated objects, often handcrafted, chosen for their material, their form. Hand-thrown ceramic bowls, maybe an asymmetrical sculpture in raw metal or blackened wood. Tall, simple vases with just dried grasses or large palm fronds. Things with texture and natural origins.
And where do they go? Just anywhere?
No, placed intentionally.
Yeah.
On ledges, maybe shelves, balancing natural materials and artistic expression, perhaps a textured canvas painting, a vintage lamp with a really beautiful ribbed glass shade, or just a small, meaningful stack of books with lovely aged spines.
Okay.
The sources put it nicely.
Yeah.
These objects do more than decorate. They narrate. They add these layers of texture, history, quiet beauty, things that resonate emotionally.
They narrate. That's a powerful way to think about objects in your space.
Okay.
So as day turns into night, how does lighting shift? The sources call it an emotional tool.
Yeah, as the natural light fades, the artificial light needs to take over seamlessly. But it's described as a very careful choreography of light and shadow.
How is that achieved? What techniques?
Well, subtle things like step lights integrated low down, just for quiet guidance. Linear LEDs tucked into ceiling recesses to wash walls with soft, indirect light. Table lamps, but with natural basis stone. Clay giving warm pools of light without any harsh glare.
So avoiding that single harsh overhead light.
Absolutely. And they mentioned using indirect cove lighting, maybe under floating elements like the bed frame or shelves. It creates this illusion of lightness, like things are hovering slightly.
Okay.
It creates what they call a soft tension. Just enough visual interest with the light and shadow, but overwhelmingly enough calm to let you exhale. There's a great summary line. This is the elegance of restraint. There's no clutter here, no surplus, only what you need made beautiful.
Elegance of restraint. That really feels like a theme running through all of this. And speaking of things woven together, the garden connection keeps coming up, described as a living part of the room, not separate. How do they achieve that integration?
It's about deliberately blurring the lines. Floor-to-ceiling glass doors, often with minimal, maybe wooden frames that can slide wide open.
Physically merging the spaces.
Right, and seeing tropical palms swaying just outside, maybe relying on that natural breeze instead of a ceiling fan. Vertical gardens are mentioned too.
If you found this video helpful or inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Interior Blockchain Studio for more expert design ideas, trends, and creative inspiration. Your support helps us bring you even more amazing content, so make sure to turn on notifications and stay updated with our latest uploads. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.